Hello, my dear friends. This is Patriji, and I wish each and every beautiful soul out there a very, very, very happy Buddha Purnima, my dear friends. This is such a great occasion. Celebrating Buddha Purnima throughout the world. All the meditators come together at this time and meditate together with oneness in their hearts, with togetherness, with inclusiveness. This is such a beautiful moment. Let us all come together and meditate with beautiful music. Let us share our wisdom and knowledge with everyone. Let us share our experiences with everyone. Let us celebrate this beautiful occasion, this beautiful event with everyone, my dear friends. And today, I am bringing to you a beautiful subject where I have learned a lot from, and I wish to share with each and every one of you about this beautiful subject that I'm sure you are willing to learn and adapt. So, my dear friends, without any further delay, I would like to start sharing this presentation with you. Are you ready? Because I definitely am. So, without any further delay, let me begin the presentation. So, yes, my dear friends, today we are going to learn about the signs of a disciple. Now, firstly, we need to learn who is a disciple and what kind of a signs does a disciple show that he is a disciple. Let us learn further about this, and this particular subject has been excerpted from a book called World Discipleship, written by Torkam Saradarian, my dear friends. So let us now get into the subject and learn what exactly are the signs of a disciple. So what we need in the world today is an army of disciples who are charged with love, courage, daring, striving, and dedication to serve humanity as a whole in the spirit of self-forgetfulness and with increasing efficiency. And in all walks of life, people are looking for those who will give them hope and a sense of the future. So this guidance is given in effort to make us more aware of this need. Isn't it true, my dear friends? So we, as an army of disciples, are going to do this. So there are two words which we read over and over in the ageless wisdom teachings. One is the word disciple, and the other word is the future. These words are the key to learn about our responsibilities to the whole life by thinking about the future and doing so as disciples. And thinking about our future helps us to strive in the right direction and balances us. And it is important to plan for the future. You might want to think like, how do I plan for the future? How do I have a vision for the future? What is my vision? What is my dream? What do I aim to achieve? How am I going to do it? You are going to work now and strive towards the future to actualize your dreams, to actualize your visions. And also, you're going to do this in a very, 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 very balanced way. So, a disciple is generally, they are seen as someone who follows someone else, such as a teacher, a more advanced or more knowledgeable person. But a disciple in the esoteric sense is a person who is committed, efficient, and on a clear track of continuous advancement and continuous striving towards a more perfected life. So, a disciple is actually a person who follows the laws of nature, who follows the laws of life, the esoteric principles and laws, my dear friends. And such a person is called a disciple, not necessarily a person who is following someone else. So imagine a person who moves ahead of the curve, anticipating and taking action even before the need is visible. That is a disciple who is living continuously. So once we realize the tremendous difference our one life can make, just imagine if just one of our lifetimes can make a whole new, give a whole new perspective to the entire world, if we can change the world, if we can transform everyone, how beautiful can it be? Imagine being that person. Doesn't it sound beautiful? Just imagine being that person. So, what are the signs of a disciple? Now we are getting into the actual subject, my dear friends. What are the signs of a disciple? When we say the signs of a disciple, we mean standards. Nations, groups, and humanity as a whole expand their consciousness or degenerate according to the standards presented to them. So, if you want to know the destiny of a family, of a person, or of a nation, you must discover what standards were presented to these nations, to these groups, or to that person. What kind of standards are you giving to your family, to your group, to your nation, and to the world as a whole? Here we are going to understand about 14 different signs of a disciple, my dear friends. There are 14 signs of a disciple. I would suggest everyone to maybe take a pen and a paper to write down all these signs of a disciple and try to relate to them and see if they can, if you can really adapt all these signs of a disciple. These standards go to our subconscious mind and slowly control our thinking, relationships, and activities. So with our standards, we need to really challenge ourselves to strive towards, that perfection, the standards that, which brings us to the signs of a disciple. So each sign is a disciple is a standard. And if we think about these standards, we see that our life is becoming better, healthier, happier, and more prosperous and even more successful. So this is how understanding the signs of a disciple helps us in every part of our life. First one, my dear friends, is obedience. The first sign of a disciple is obedience. When we talk about obedience, what generally comes to our mind is like, if somebody is ordering you and you follow your orders and, you're actually going against yourself, you're losing yourself, you're losing your freedom. That is what is the general phenomena of this obedience definitions. But then is it really that? So they think that the free will is gone. Why must I obey my father, mother, or teacher, or anybody? They think that their freedom is taken away from their hands. Is that really obedience? And secondly, they think that obedience means to lose their habits, therefore themselves. It's so funny by saying that if you make him free from his habits, he thinks he's losing himself. And the third thing people think is that if they're obeying you, they are ceasing to be democratic, because democracy means for them to do anything that they want. So obedience is generally seen as in a perspective wherein it takes away your freedom, your free will, everything. But is obedience really that? What is obedience? In discipleship, you're not obeying any person. You're not obeying a person's ideas, wishes, and desires, or his inclinations and expectations. You're obeying the standards which that person is presenting, the plans, the great ideas, the principles, the revelations that that teacher is representing. That is obedience, my dear friends. There's no worship, there's no nothing else, but it's just the vision and the ideas and the dreams that you obey. That is what is obedience. For example, a person representing the law stops you from driving too fast. This man personally may be good or bad. It does not matter, but is representing the law. He gives you a ticket. And if you do not obey him, obey him, he gives you another ticket. And you come to your senses and say, I must not drive 100 kilometers an hour speed. I'm going to obey the law, the rules, the regulations, the standards. So you're basically not obeying the police, but you're obeying the law. There is a difference. So that is the secret of obedience, and sometimes it is called esoteric obedience or spiritual obedience. Isn't that a wonderful insight into the concept of obedience, my dear friends? So one day, Torkam's father, the author who has written this book, he is stating an example of his own life. And one day, Torkam's father and he were watching a carpenter who was planning and cutting a piece of wood. It was making lots of noise. The father asked, why did you think this wood is making so much noise? He answered, it is because he's cutting it. His father did not answer, and 2 or 3 hours later he said, why was the wood making noise? And he answered, it was because the wood did not want to be something a carpenter was trying to make it. Do you understand? He asked. Yes. The carpenter is trying to raise the glory of the wood and make it a window, but the wood did not want it. That is why it is screaming. By obeying the carpenter, the wood was becoming something better than it was before. So the carpenter was actualizing his vision for the wood, and the wood was becoming a vision. Isn't that wonderful perspective, a viewpoint? So when a disciple is obeying the teacher, he's not obeying the teacher. He's obeying the vision of the teacher has that the teacher has for him, for that disciple. There is a huge difference. So if you can see this picture, the teacher is guiding the student. The teacher is saying that, you know what, if you touch this wire, you may get shocks. If you touch that wire, it may bring death also. So be careful. So we obey the master, we obey the teacher. Otherwise, we will have to pay for what we have done, for not listening to the teacher, for not obeying the teacher. That is where our teacher plays a role. And that is where a disciple needs to obey the teacher. And the second sign is trust in your teacher. Do you trust your teacher? Even if he acts in a way that you hate. Torkam had some teachers who looked so obnoxious. They did many things which he rebelled at and did not like. But then, when he went to self observation, he found out that because of their attitude being that way, things come out of himself. So sometimes microbes and germs live within you for ages, and you really need a nasty teacher. The nasty teacher can be, anyone, your friends, your family, your society, your group members, anybody. When I say nasty, it means that that person, the teacher, is bringing something out of you. All the things that you have stored inside, it is coming out of you. So if you do not trust him, he cannot establish a close tie with you and activate these germs and microbes and bring them to the surface for you to see. The teacher's duty is to clean your house. How is he going to clean your house? Sometimes he will be nice. Sometimes he will scratch your wounds. So sometimes he will even cut and destroy things. In the case when he likes you and caresses you, you think he's a good teacher. But when he steps on your tail, you think he's no good. Why is he no good? Is it because he's bringing something out of you which is detrimental for your spiritual progress? What is it that makes you decide whether a person is good or not good? You're identified with a beast within yourself and you do not want to lose that beast. Have you ever come across such a situation, my dear friends? So when you feel that you're losing the beast, you feel horrible because you and the beast become one. And when a teacher is trying to take you out, separate you from the beast, you feel terrible, you feel horrible, and you resist things. How can you throw out the beast from you? If you do not watch these kinds of things, progress is impossible, and you can see millions of groups, humanity still in a very dark state of consciousness. Why is that? Because every time we hear from this ear and we leave it from the other ear. We do not listen. We do not trust. So obedience is not trust. People think they are the same thing. Obedience is understanding the standards and wanting to change through these standards. But trust is unity with the teacher so that he imparts to you the energy that he has, the enthusiasm that he has, the psychic energy that he has. Until he finds out that you are totally sincere in your bones, trust cannot be established. Are we sincere? Do we really trust? And whenever trust is not established, the glue does not hold. The glue definitely does not hold. So that is where we need to work on, my dear friends. We need to really understand what is trust and how can we trust. The third sign of discipleship is humility, my dear friends. What is humility? Let us really understand in a deeper sense what is humility. Humility is a position you take in the center of a triangle. One point of the triangle is the past, one point is the present, and one point is the future. So these three angles are the basis or the foundation of us becoming humble, to bring humility in our lives. And you see yourself clearly in relation to these 3 points. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? How can we bring ourselves to that center of the triangle and be humble? What were you in the past? Unless you really know what you were in the past, you cannot take the first step. What did you do in the past? With your physical body, with your emotions, with your mind, with your speech, with your actions, what did you do? Even with your imagination. And this is very important so that you come down from that heaven in which you are living and realize that you stole, you cheated, you lied, you manipulated, and you did this and that is very good. So understanding about the past and really seeing yourself as you are on the basis of the past is good. You actually see yourself, what you were in the past and the present. The second thing you are going to see is what you really are at the present. Of course, you gossip and slander people to make yourself known that you're better than they are. You bring ego, vanity, greed, and everything, animosities, So that is the first sign that you are weakened. How are you in the present moment? How are you at the present? And until you really see yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, with your imaginations, especially with your motives, your feelings, your reactions and responses, you cannot take the second step. So the first step is to understand what you really did in your past. The second step is to really understand how are you at the present. And let us come to the third step. The third step that really brings you to the center of the triangle, which is humility, is that you measure yourself with the ideal towards which you want to strive, which is the future. You need to really go ahead with that. For example, if you want to be a scientist, how close are you? You want to be a master. How close are you to that mastery? You look at yourself and say, pitiful. I am really pitiful. Of course, you're pitiful in relation to the future, a future imagined perfection. So you're pitiful in relation to your past, you're pitiful in relation to your present. That is humility. And then we come to the fourth sign of a disciple, which is called diligence, my dear friends. Real disciples work, 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 and work. They never have a time in which they do not work. They work on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, intentional, causal, everywhere. They keep working. They write, they paint, they talk, they do something. They just keep on doing something or the other. Because a disciple knows a great secret. And this secret is that whenever you do not work, Satan enters into you. And any little hole in your psyche makes the air enter, makes the water enter, darkness enter. That is the whole concept of diligence, my dear friends. The best way to be a disciple is not to give any chances to negative forces, to dark forces to enter into you. How can you do it? How can you really manifest it? You can do it by keeping yourself occupied all the time. Keep yourself occupied, my dear friends. So keeping yourself creatively busy, strivingly busy, because you're busy in striving. And you strive on various levels, not just physically, or you need to strive mentally, you need to strive emotionally, you need to strive in your soul, you need to strive in overcoming yourself, your egos, your vanities, your greed, your animosities, your revenges, your pride, everything. You need to really work on yourself, and that is what is work all about. You're busy in creating, protecting, doing something. And if you cannot do mental jobs, do physical jobs, but keep yourself always busy, because busyness makes you a transmitter through which the energies of life keep circulating. They're not stuck anywhere. They're definitely not stuck. Now, let me give you an example of what has been stated in this book right now. So, you do not know the dark forces are waiting, like lions, and to attack and devour you. Whenever you're occupied, you prevent attacks. Now, let me come to the example that I just said. A gentleman wrote to Torquem saying that I'm sexually possessed and I'm like a beast. Torquem wrote to him, daily you are going to run 5 miles, and told him other things to do so that he did not have 1 minute to rest. Then he called Torquem and said, you are impossible. And he said, okay, if you do not want to do it, do not do it. But after a couple of months, Torquem received a letter from him and that said, it is working. 5 miles is killing me, shaping me. It is making me better. So some people think that they are possessed. It is congestion. When energy is stuck in any center, dark forces stimulate that center. But then if you disperse it, you release the people, you save them. They are going to obey the guidance. It is obedience. Isn't it such a beautiful thing to listen to? Such a beautiful insight that we cannot really work upon, which we can really adapt in our life. Whatever energy that is stuck in you, this is the way to release it. Work, 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 and work on all levels. Then, have you ever been to a vacation? What do you generally do in a vacation? And do you know what real vacation is? The real vacation is to find a great service and do it. Because your soul goes on a vacation anytime you do something great for people. This is work, and diligent people are disciples. When you see people around you that do not talk about the ageless wisdom, mysticism, and so on, do not fool yourself. They are disciples if they are diligent. And this is what a real vacation is. And the fifth sign is called faithfulness, my dear friends. So, the fifth sign of a disciple being faithfulness. There are 7 kinds of faithfulness in the Agni Yoga teachings. And unless you are faithful in all the 7 grades, you cannot be a disciple. So let us understand what are the 7 kinds of faithfulness, my dear friends. First one is faithfulness to friendship. If you are a friend, you will be faithful, because a man was saying, I wanted to be with those people, but in my heart, I did not like them. Is he faithful? Of course he's not. He's a hypocrite. But if you're a friend, you are definitely a friend. And faithfulness is very, very, very important in all kinds of friendship relationships, my dear friends. Faithfulness and friendship expands your soul, expands your consciousness, and makes you step onto the path of discipleship. Are you faithful in your friendship? A question to be asked. Faithfulness to promises. If you promise something, be faithful to it. An observation is that in the past 60, 70 years, that people who promise and do not fulfill their promise are sick people, physically, emotionally, and mentally. You know what happens? When you make a promise and you do not fulfill that promise, it disturbs the pattern that has been created on a natural way, that as long as you keep fulfilling that promise, this pattern doesn't get disturbed. But when you do not fulfill that promise, the whole electric pattern creates disturbances and it short circuits you. So faithfulness is a great sign of a disciple, and he is faithful to his promises and friendships. Are we faithful to our promises? Faithfulness to duties, my dear friends. Third one. So faithfulness to the duties exalts you. It gives you energy. People trust you. People think that you're a station of courage. And, faithfulness and blessings. If you're not doing your duty with your whole heart, with all your faithfulness, you are a cheater, you're a deceiver, and disciples cannot be that. If you try to be really faithful to your duties, you will see a great change in your character, because these signs really adjust your brain and put you together in the right shape. But then what happens is that if you're not really faithful, it creates lots of imbalance in all the levels of our life. Physically, emotionally, mentally, everywhere. There's instability everywhere. So see how these signs are, but with these easy signs, your perfection starts. So let us all be faithful to our duties. Faithfulness to responsibilities. Wow. Are duties and responsibilities different? They are not the same, my dear friends. Duty is something which is given to you by someone else. Responsibility is a self-initiated duty. In responsibility, you respond to demands, but to the highest expectations of the people, and take the duty upon your shoulder to meet the responsibility. That is what is all about being faithful to responsibilities, my dear friends, and faithfulness to the trust given to him. This is a little deeper. We go from duty to responsibility and turn to trust. Trust is very, 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 very difficult. A disciple is really trustworthy of the faith put in him. And that is why disciples gain power and strength. And because of that, they can help people. Not gain power and strength to gain control over others, to make others listen to you. But with that power and strength, you can really help people. There's a lot of difference in that. So whenever trust is put upon you, be trustworthy, or else you are trash. Or else you need another 5,000 years to erase the mess that you created. Faithful to the teaching. You will find people joking in the name of the teaching. Joking with the teaching. You're going to be faithful to the teaching. Even if you cannot do all that the teaching says, at least be sincere and say, 1% now I'm able to do. We can say that, can't we? You can take any principle from the teachings and you can say, I can become that at least 1%. Never, never, never joke about, discourage, or humiliate the teaching in any relationship, my dear friends. So be faithful to the teaching. Faithful to conscience. Some people's conscience is sealed and put in their pocket. It does not even exist for them. So they gossip and slander continuously. They show themselves as knowing everything and being somebody or everybody. So a great master once said, on the path of discipleship, you cannot take combustible materials with you because they will burn you. What are these combustible materials that he is talking about? These combustible materials are slander, malice, treason, gossiping, and everything. Vanity, ego. So these are all combustible materials which later will burn us. So it is better to be without them. So we all need to be faithful to our conscience, my dear friends. We finish the 7 types of faithfulness, my dear friends, and we come to the 6th sign of a disciple, which is respectfulness. Respect for your father and mother. It is a commandment. Respect your children, your friends, your teacher. Never speak badly about your wife or husband or friends. Respect them. You can keep silence sometimes, but it must not be the wrong silence, because with wrong silence, you really disrespect someone. Silence is subtle, but we always need to remember to be respectful. Why be respectful? Respectfulness makes you see the values in others. Respectfulness is proof that you are not a slave of your vanity and ego. And you can see that others are beautiful. You can see their oneness with you. When with respectfulness, every moment you gain tremendously. Why? Because whenever you see beauty in others, whenever you feel that oneness with others, you gain a lot of energy. And that energy, you can really help people see the beauty in themselves. We really gain a lot of energy. We really gain a lot of inspiration and enthusiasm from everyone, my dear friends. And that is why being respectful is very, very, very important. Never give up on respectfulness, even if you're angry. Sometimes when we are angry, all kinds of wrong words come out of our mouth, which we may not intend to mean later. Even if you're angry at one person, let us not lose our respect. Let us be respectful. So respectfulness is a cooperative act with divinity existing in other people. Don't we all see God in others, or do we see something else in others? That is the ageless teaching, my dear friends. Seeing the beauty in others is an ageless teaching which we all need to, apply in our life, in each and every relationship. And respectfulness makes you see a man's beauty and divinity within him, that there is hope, that there is light. Isn't that so, so, so beautiful? We need to learn to see hope and light and future and beauty in each other, my dear friends. That is being respectful. And the seventh sign of a disciple is striving. What is striving now? I strive every day. So striving means to make efforts and transcend the level that you're on. A disciple never stays where he is. He's always progressing. Striving improves your behavior because you're always shaping yourself. You're always constructing yourself. You're always building yourself. You're always working on yourself. And you know that this and that is wrong. Okay, let me shape a little and a little more. Little is so good because you're improving. One thing is for sure, never ever expect that suddenly you will be your God. But improvement is your right. You can improve. And improving is striving. Striving purifies your emotions. Whenever you say that, I'm polluted with these emotions, I have slander, malice, fear, hatred, anger, jealousy, revenge, and everything else, what is striving? How can we strive in these conditions? Striving is to step on them, slowly, 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 reducing them to ashes and not be caught in the massive turmoil of emotions. And the great master once also said that striving, nothing else, results in mastery over the elements. For the basic quality of the elements is striving. Striving develops your mind and thinking. Striving unfolds your spirituality. Striving makes you serve humanity. So that is about striving, my dear friends. We come to the eighth step, eighth sign of a disciple, which is called sidelessness. Oh my God, what is sidelessness? People are engulfed in racism, in nationalism, in patriotism, in clans. They take sides, but life has no sides. Real consciousness has no sides. Sidelessness means that you stand for all that exists. You are all inclusive. You're all embracing. You're not on particular one side. You're not biased. You're not partial. You're completely impartial. You're in a neutral state. You're in a balanced, calm, and centered position. You do not stand for sides. Every time you stand for parts, you destroy yourself and cut yourself from the whole. What do you stand for? Whose side are you on? You create friction between your silly self and the whole which exists in your within. I'm neither on your side nor on his side. I'm for both of you. And this is what compassion is. Compassion is sidelessness. Now, do we have compassion? So this is something that we really need to think about. This is called sidelessness, my dear friends. And then we come to the ninth sign of a disciple, which is called clarity. All real disciples try to be clear in their conversations, talks, feelings, thinking, writing, and other activities so that they do not create misunderstanding, illusion, or a false image. Now, what is a false image? They think they are somebody, but they are not. They think they are doing something, but they are not. They think they are a very pure soul, but maybe they are not. So we create so many false images built by ourselves, and we tend to try to live the lie. We build these false images in our ignorance, in our foolishness, and then we try to live this lie each and every second of our life, and try to prove that this false image is actually the real image. So let us not get into the trap of creating false images for ourselves. And clarity prevents one from having mixed motives or any tendency to manipulate people. Their yes remains a yes, their no remains a no. As simple as that. So it is not easy to be clear, but you must have purity of motives, purity of thoughts and feelings, and the ability to translate them into the right forms. Unclarity is the signs of all kinds of misunderstandings and problems. And a disciple strives to be clear in all his relationships. Unless a disciple has clarity, he is not a disciple. So we need to gain as much clarity as possible in our life, in our relationships, in everything that we do on all levels of our being. So that is the 9th sign of a disciple, my dear friends. Then we come to the 10th. Wow, enthusiasm. The 10th sign or a standard of a disciple is enthusiasm, my dear friends. Enthusiasm can be defined as having the flow of the divine fire within our hearts, within our hearts. Do you have fire in your heart? That fire is nothing but enthusiasm, my dear friends. You want to do this, you want to do that, let's do it. Let's, bring, good visions into this world. Let's do some manifestation. Let our dreams come true. So enthusiasm is a continuous and ever increasing urge to serve without being conditioned by our results. People who have enthusiasm do not worry about results. They just do what needs to be done. They just do it out of love, out of joy, out of freedom, out of enthusiasm. They just do it. But they're not bound by the results. A person who has enthusiasm creates good causes. And whenever a person who has enthusiasm creates good causes, there will definitely be good results, but he's not conditioned by the results. So those who keep the fire of enthusiasm going on in the heart will reach the moment of transfiguration. And with his enthusiasm, the disciple inflames the hearts of those who feel the urgency to serve and do their utmost to disperse the accumulating hatred and hostility in the world. And the new leaders of humanity will fight not against people and armies, but against the degeneration of the heart. There's too much of mind going on everywhere. The heart is missing. We need to bring some heart. We need to bring the light of the heart in everyone's life, my dear friends. Because enthusiasm lives in the heart. So we all need to purify our hearts and fill our hearts with enthusiasm, the fire of enthusiasm, and then we can tread on this path of perfection. Enthusiasm creates group fire. Wow, really? Enthusiasm creates group fire. The flame of enthusiasm kindles the hearts of the group. Heart, my dear friends. Please bear this word in your mind or in your heart. So it kindles the hearts of the group, and the group becomes alive. Members of the group support each other and encourage each other for their every effort of creativity and service. Enthusiasm kindles the souls of group members with the vision for which they offer themselves. Enthusiasm in a group expands the field of influence of the group in the environment. Isn't this true? Isn't this beautiful? So, serving groups are those groups in which the members carry their fires wherever the group presents a lecture, a seminar, or a festival. So, let us protect this fire within our hearts. Let us not diminish it. Let us do everything to protect that fire in our heart, that enthusiasm in our hearts. And let us build that fire among our group members. And the 11th sign is gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful sign of discipleship. He never forgets the help he received from others, no matter how small it was, and tries to pay it back with interest. Gratitude, my dear friends, such a lovely, lovely, lovely word. Gratitude prevents a disciple from falling into treason, gossip, slander, and crimes. If a person has gratitude, he will not allow himself to get into these kind of things. It is through gratitude that a disciple contacts the higher sources of inspiration and builds closer ties with his inner and outer guides. Because great ones feel deep sorrow, my dear friends, for this, for those who live in the darkness of ingratitude and eventually fall into treason. So let us build a spirit of gratitude, build an attitude of gratitude in our lives, in all phases of our life and relationships, in all the levels of our being. And the 12th sign is that a disciple does not react. When people hurt your feelings, when people gossip about you and slander you, when people do not understand you, when people steal from you, when people manipulate you in various ways, you do not react. But then what does this mean? Does this mean that the disciple encourages people to take advantage of him and exploit him? In a sense, yes. But remember that a true disciple is connected with the karmic law and he lets karma take care of it. Karma pays very high interest to those who were manipulated and exploited in the past. This is truly wonderful. Then the 13th sign. We come to the 13th sign, my dear friends. The 13th sign of a disciple can be formulated as a desire to be corrected. Every time you give a lecture, go to your teacher and insist that he or she show you the better ways to give lectures. Taking the loving criticism from your teacher elevates you to the rank of a true server. Consult your teacher. Take advice where you can really improve yourself. So often you give the most stupid lecture and you fall in love with yourself. You think that no one could be as good as you are. But a disciple always goes by standard and tries to see how lacking he is and how he can improve. Narcissism is a very common sickness in the hearts of those who cannot transcend the level where they are. They like to stay in shallow waters and are scared to try to enter into the new currents of inspiration and into the labor of self perfection. This is where humility also comes into place. We need to be humble to know what we are really, to see ourselves in its real light, and to find room for improvement. So you must remember that you can always improve yourself in anything that you're doing. Because to improve means to advance on the path of perfection. It is definitely the path of perfection. We all always need to keep improving ourselves. There's always room for improvement. We come to the final sign of a disciple, my dear friends, which is called co-measurement. Oh my God, what is co-measurement right now? Co-measurement, or the ability to circumspect. So you do things, you speak things, you write things, taking into account all sides of the issue, and then do it. The disciple does not decide or plan or talk or act until he examines all sides of an issue under consideration. That is called as co-measurement. That is called as circumspection, my dear friends. That is where even the reaction comes into place. You do not react immediately. You understand the situation. You try to see an issue from all sides of angles, all sides of viewpoints, every perspective, and then you consider those viewpoints. You consider everything, all the uh, perspectives. You examine an issue. So, co measurement is a sign of an expanded consciousness. And most of our mistakes originate from our attitudes based on limited knowledge, on limited information, on a limited point of view, on ignorance, or on our narrow mindedness. Whenever we co measure, we really challenge ourselves to see everything from a different point of view. It will not allow us to be one tracked, to be single minded. It allows us to have expanded consciousness, expanded mind, open mindedness, which is very difficult to achieve. But we really need to strive towards working on our open mindedness, on our co measurement. There are many games by which we learn a lot. We learn not to move until we consider the position of all players. We all generally play games, for example, chess or Chinese checkers or something else. We anticipate. So a limited consciousness cannot do things and then work 10 years to undo the things that were done in one short hour. Do we understand the real concept, the inner concept of this co-measurement, my dear friends? We really need to co-measure and not come to conclusions or decisions immediately and not to react. So here we are ending the presentation, my dear friends, by saying that discipleship is a victorious life. So there ends our presentation, my dear friends. Thank you, my dear friends, for being there for this whole presentation. And I hope it has given all of us a new perspective, a new meaning for being a disciple. And let us all adapt and live the meaning of a disciple. Thank you, my dear friends. And I wish you all yet again a very, very, very happy Buddha Purnima, my dear friends. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I thank PMC. I thank all of you people for doing this great service, for this meditation, for these celebrations. Thank you very much. And this is Parinita Patri signing off. Namaste.